All right, what's up, everyone? It is the Osmo.com NHL Hit the Ice show. We've got an 8-game slate to talk about. Quite a few options, some line changes that you're going to want to be aware of. So, Nolan's article, the NHL line changes article, should be pretty helpful today, as it usually is. Puts all the information you need to know from morning skate in just one place. So you're going to want to check that out when it comes out. If it does come out during the show, I will post it in chat. First of all, how did everyone do last night? If you did play, I think it was a 4-game slate last night. Again, all the slates run together for me at this point. But yeah, it was kind of a weird one. I didn't watch too much of it. Didn't have enough McDavid. So my night was pretty much over as far as it being a profitable night. Took a pretty hard stand on some other lines, and not the McDavid line in Minnesota was buried before the slate even started, really. So that was a little bit unfortunate. We do have the 24 days of giveaway going on right now. So you're going to want to like this video, and then for today, our comment is going to be, let's do the highest owned, or the highest, not the highest owned stack, the highest scoring contrarian stack. So sticking with on the contrary, if you guys just watched that, if you're playing NFL this weekend, we're going to go with the your best highest scoring contrarian stack. And the giveaway this time around for this week is a little bit different. For this time, it is, you get one person will get a free Osmo.com membership for the sport of their choosing. So it's not just NFL. If you want to do NHL, be my guest. If you want to do NBA, we've got some great guys over there as well. Projections, ownership projections for NBA as well. So even if NFL or NHL is not your thing, you can go and leave a comment, like the video, which is very important, and then you will be earning entries for whichever shows you do that for, and then that will lead up until the Christmas Eve giveaway, which is going to be the grand prize, an all-access annual pass. Jake, save us from what? Save us from what? What am I saving you from? Jets tilt? Yeah. Yeah, man, that was weird too. And Dallas, they didn't do anything either. Dallas' top line, I don't know. I'm just like obsessed with Dallas's top line, and I don't know why I am, because they have not treated me well this year. So who knows? But yeah, I don't know if you guys, the few of you that are in here, if you guys want to talk about game by game or what you want to do, but we can do game by game. We can do just some fantasy cruncher stuff. We can talk about what some other pro players are doing, what some of the top guys are doing, because I think that's more and more interesting the more that I am grinding through these CSVs. So we can go game by game. I didn't do a ton of individual game research, but I do have like the stack pricing in front of me, and there are a few games with some interesting notes. One in particular that's going to get a lot of attention. So, all right, let's go through. We'll do game by game. I suppose we have enough people to kind of get this going, and I'm sure we're going to get some more trickling in as we go through. So, Toronto and Boston, we have Frederik Andersen going up against Yaroslav Halak. The Leafs, I think, are going to go a little bit under-owned tonight. It looks like some line changes for the Matthews line. No Patrick Marleau on the second line. It's going to be Andreas Johnson, and he's super cheap at 3,800. I think that line's going to get some attention just because it is Matthews. But again, I think the Tavares line is going to go somewhat under-owned, and I'm always interested in them. If you use my projections, you probably get a lot of them, and that's been a little bit annoying as of late. They haven't really done a ton in terms of like going off, but they have been solid for the whole season. So Tavares, Marner, and then I do include Hyman for 4K when he's at that price level. I think he's a fine add-on. No peaks at grades today. Yeah, the NHL rankings are out. I'm assuming Osmo is going to probably have them out at some point during the show, and they'll just get updated automatically. So they might pop up, they might not, but yeah, we're just doing the show a little bit earlier than usual because it is a Saturday, and I'm probably not playing more than 20 lineups tonight. So I figured I could get on the show, kind of run through everything and tell you guys what I plan to do for the slate, because it's probably going to be a 20 max night tonight with that $40 tournament that I very much dislike, but I think I'm going to be playing it anyways and probably just throw 20 in it. All right. On the Bruins side, we've got Krejci in between Marchand and Pasternak. I really, really like that line. I think they're going to go up against the Matthews, Kapanen, Johnson line. I don't know for sure, but even if they go up against Tavares Marner, I think there's more than enough chances to go around, and they're cheap, and Krejci is a very obvious upgrade over Colby Cave. I'm not really looking at any other lines in this game outside of each of the top lines, because I think they are both fine values, even though Toronto 1 especially is a bit pricey. But when you compare them to like Pittsburgh 1 and Colorado 1, it's pretty easy to get there. Defenseman here, really, really like Krug for 5,400. He's my preferred play over anyone in this game, but also McAvoy returning for 4K, should see 20-plus minutes, and he's going to get a favorable even strength matchup, whether he goes up against Matthews or Tavares. He's usually used as the shutdown pairing. I would think they're going to throw him right back into that, but that is a big boost for Boston, even though they're still without Patrice Bergeron. Halak at 7K jumps off the screen to me as an obvious value. We don't have the updated totals just yet, but I could probably check that right now. I think he is, let's see. He is a plus 105 dog. So, I mean, somewhat of a coin flip, a little bit towards Toronto here, but I like Halak for 7K. All right, next game, probably the most popular game. We've got Pittsburgh and Ottawa. So for these, I did look up the total. We have 4.1 for the Penguins, and then about 3 for Ottawa. Just a ridiculous total. We see one of these 7 totals once a month. I'm sure we're going to see them once a month this season. A couple years ago, that would be not even a thing. Like 6.5 wasn't even a thing for the longest time, and now we're seeing a 7 somewhat regularly. So, there's not much to say about this game. We're going to see very heavy ownership on Pittsburgh. We're going to see the White Tkachuk Stone line get some steam. That's the one that I think is the best value in this game. It is an excellent power play matchup for Pittsburgh, and that top line, now that they're all in the power play with Gensel and Kessel centered by Crosby, it's kind of tough to avoid. With 20 lineups, I'm finding myself only getting like 1 or 2 lineups, so 5 to 10% of my 20 lineups, which is a little bit nerve-wracking. I'm definitely going to force in 1 or 2 shares of Pittsburgh 1, just because if Ottawa is committing penalties, they're toast, and Pittsburgh should get there pretty easily. They're expensive with Crosby at nearly 8K, but not like they're not that restrictive. There are some good values that we'll talk about. Even on the other side, like if you want to take a shot on this White Tkachuk Stone line, which I really like, I don't know if you can fit those two together. You might need to double punt after that, but it's just not that difficult to fit in Pittsburgh 1. So yeah, you actually can. You can fit in this line. I'm going to do it right here for you guys. You can fit these two in. You're going to have to double punt, but you get the idea. See, now you got 5,200 for a goalie. You can get Halak in there, whoever you want, and a cheap defenseman. So there you go. There's your game stack. That's how I would game stack it. I wouldn't go out of my way to game stack. I almost never do. I think if it happens organically, that's fine. But in hockey, I don't know that it makes much sense to seek that out unless we've got our buddy Furman South in rare form and calling 7 penalties in the first period. But that's a very rare situation. And I don't think he's reffing NHL games for the near future. I could be wrong on that. But we've got Chris Letang at 6,500. He is, I think, still a little bit overpriced. If Ottawa can stay out of the penalty box, which is a big if, because This is Pittsburgh we're talking about. There's almost no way I don't think Letang reaches his value there. He's super, super. But I shouldn't say he's overpriced. He's priced into, like, the power play is baked into his price almost all the time. So you're always paying a few extra $100, which I don't really like to do. I really love Shabbat on the other side for 6,200, and that's the guy that I would be trying to force in. He's probably going to be my highest owned defenseman in this game. I really do like Ottawa in that top line plus Shabbat if you can afford him. The goalies here, Anderson, he's cheap enough, but I think I'd rather go with some of these other cheaper guys. So I'm probably going to steer clear of Craig Anderson. I'm not going to get that crazy, even though I'm probably going to be under the field on Pittsburgh 1. It's not going to be because I'm jamming in some Craig Anderson. And then DeSmith, I think, is too expensive for me. So going to go elsewhere. Islanders and Detroit Red Wings. We have Thomas Greiss going up against Jonathan Bernier. I believe it is a 3.1 implied total for the Islanders, 2.9 for the Red Wings. I really like the Larkin-Nyquist pairing. Advocator is on that line, so whatever. But they are going to go up against Nelson, Lee, Eberle, or at least that's my read. And if I'm correct, then that is a really favorable matchup for Larkin, who's been awesome. He's affordable, and an Advocator, while he's terrible, he is still 3,200, and I want a full line stack tonight, so I'm going to have a healthy amount of Detroit 1, and you'll kind of see why. When I go through Cruncher, I'm trying to go through these games quick intentionally so we can get to some fantasy Cruncher, because I know a few of you have asked me about that. So I want to get to that and kind of show you what the chalk lineup construction is going to look like and some other things that I like outside of the chalk lineup construction. So Detroit 1 is my main target in this game. On the other side, though, no issue going to Nelson, Lee, Eberle. Those guys all get power play time. Detroit commits amongst the most penalties for the season. They do not have a great kill. Not saying the Islanders have a great power play, but still I think there could be quite a few opportunities, and that is the best constructed line in my opinion. I believe we saw Josh Bailey on the second line with Barzal and Beauvillier. That really doesn't do much for me. I'm not a Josh Bailey guy, as many of you probably know. So it's really just going to be the Nelson line and the Larkin line. I could see taking a shot on Athanasiou, Nielsen, and Vanek. That line's going to be really bad defensively, but they are pretty cheap with Vanek at only 3K. Nielsen under 5K. Don't expect a hat trick again, but literally don't expect a hat trick probably ever from Franz Nielsen. But Detroit 2 would probably be more of an MME play for me, whereas Detroit 1 is closer to being a priority play. I know you always MME, but maybe you could help us less lineup guys out. I should be making 10 lineups. Maybe mention the top lines instead of spreading all over, because a lot of us don't MME. Just a thought. Yeah. Striker, are you in this chat right now? Are you in the YouTube chat? Here. Okay. Bernier at 7,500. I think I will pass there, and then anytime the Islanders goalies, or I guess I'll pass outside of a correlation play. If you do like doing that, I've kind of gotten away from that. But Greiss on the other side, I think I'm just, anytime the Islanders goalies are on the slate, I think it makes sense to take a shot on them. They're still giving up a ton of shot attempts, but they've been lower danger, and Steve kind of pointed this out a couple slates ago, which was very smart by him. Per usual, but yeah, he was just saying, like, their expected goals, their high danger chances aren't actually that bad. So that's like DFS heaven, right? When you've got a goalie that's going to see a bunch of low and medium danger chances compared to like some of these other teams that don't maybe attempt as many shots, or they're like middle of the pack, but their high danger chances skyrocket. That's in general a team you don't want to target against with goalies. You don't want your goalie to be seeing a ton of high danger chances and not a ton of volume outside of that, which I think is pretty obvious, but I forget it myself, so I just wanted to mention that on these Islanders goalies. Boychuk I like at 3,700, and then Pulak. Those two are about even for me as far as projection, so I'm right there with them. If the $600 makes a difference, then we go down to Boychuk. He's been playing quite a bit better lately. And then Mike Green has turned it on. Speaking of playing a little bit better, at 5,300, he would be the guy that I want to get in with Larkin and Nyquist and Advocator. All right, next game, Colorado, Tampa Bay. We have Semyon Varlamov going up against Louis Domingue. Varlamov, 7,100. Domingue, 7,700. 3 implied total for Colorado, 3.5 for Tampa. And we've got 2 very high-powered lines that are most likely going to see even strength time against each other, and a lot of it. The point line has been hard matching against opposing top competition. That would mean they get a healthy dose of McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, and that line, nothing to fear defensively. The problem is McKinnon, if he has the puck on his stick a lot of the game, it's going to be really tough for Tampa 2 to get there. I think that this will be a pretty high-paced matchup back and forth. I think there's enough to go around to play both quite a bit of Colorado 1 and quite a bit of Tampa 2. And I'm calling them Tampa 2. I'm referring to the point line. So just how you see it on your screen, second line, it makes it easier if you are watching this. So I really, really like the point line. Love Colorado 1 as a contrarian play. If they are going to be that on the road here, they're priced above Pittsburgh 1. They're going to be probably half the ownership, maybe a little bit closer at higher stakes, I think, because people just make pivots, and some pros will go super heavy on Colorado 1, I think, tonight, just as an ownership play, and it makes sense at higher stakes. If Pittsburgh 1 lays an egg here, you could be in a really, really fun spot with Colorado 1. So right now I think I ended up with 3 or 4 shares out of my 20 with Colorado 1. That's most likely going to be over the field, and that's where I want to be on them. Tampa 2, I'm going to force some shares in my 20, but I'm to be determined as to how much exposure I end up with them. I'm going to see what lineups or what other lines I can jam them in with. Those are really the 2 priority plays for me in this slate, or I'm sorry, on this game. Tyson Barrie at 5,500 correlates well with Colorado 1. Eric Johnson, if you're not going to Barrie, is the other guy that I would be okay playing with Colorado 1 if you need a cheaper defenseman. And then Hedman, still priced down at 5,100. He hasn't been great, but they just keep pricing him down. I don't see anything wrong with him. He's coming into the very good value territory, even though his shots on goal aren't great. He hasn't scored a point in his last 2 games, but his last 5 or so games, 20, 24, 23, 21, 26 minutes. So there's no reason he shouldn't be producing here, in my opinion, unless there's some unknown injury, which could be the case, but we don't really know that. Varlamov at 7,100 and Domingue at 7,700. I think I'm more likely to play Domingue in this spot at 7,700. Just more win equity, and I don't really like targeting goalies against Colorado, against Tampa Bay, so I will be likely off of Varlamov. He would be a guy where if I was playing 100 lineups tonight, I would probably try to get somewhere in the 5 to 6% range, maybe up close to 10, I don't know, but tonight I don't see myself having more than 1 share of him, if that. All right, let's move it on to the Rangers and the Panthers. We have Henrik Lundqvist going up against Roberto Luongo. I don't know if any of these guys are confirmed. I should probably check that to make sure. Yeah, they're both likely. Okay, both likely according to the old daily face-off. So that must have been the beat writer's lean. Check on these guys, as always. Seems like on the weekends people pay less attention, so don't be one of those people if you are playing tonight. If you're playing your normal volume, you always want to be on top of line changes because a lot of people really aren't on the weekends, which is understandable. But we are trying to make money here, right? All right, so matchups here, we've got Barkov going up against Zibanejad, Kreider, Hayes. The Rangers kind of stacked that top line. I don't know that I have any data on Zibanejad, Kreider, Hayes, at least this season. Looking at Zibanejad and Kreider together, and I actually want to look this up just to make sure I'm not saying anything that is false. Yeah, they played 2 minutes together. Okay. They played 2 minutes together as a trio, but where's Zibanejad and Kreider? Oh, I'm sorry. Hayes and Kreider. That's what it is. Yeah, Hayes and Kreider together this season have actually been pretty dull. Yeah, not giving up many high danger chances. 191 minutes together. 48 Corsi against per 60, and that's on natural stat trick. Wow. Just over 20 scoring chances against per 60. They've actually been really solid defensively. Did not realize that until just now. So I do like Barkov, Huberdeau, Hoffman. The issue, now that I look up this Hayes and Kreider combo, I'm still not that worried. I mean, Zibanejad and Kreider, I looked at their numbers, and that's kind of what put me on Florida 1. I looked at their numbers, and they're super high pace, so I don't know what exactly to expect, but Barkov, Huberdeau, and Hoffman are all on the top power play, and I'm really not that worried about the Rangers in general. They still do give up a bunch of high danger chances, and that's what I want to target because this Florida 1 line can certainly create their fair share of high danger chances. Florida 2 is also, I think, somewhat interesting. I'm getting a little bit of them in my 20 on my initial crunches. Dadonov at 5,600 sticks out as a very nice value, as does Vetrano for 4,400. So pretty easy to stick in McCann between those two at 3,700. It's just a really well-priced stack. They fit with some of the big guns. They fit with Pittsburgh 1. I think they do fit with Colorado 1 as well. So I like them as a value stack, especially if they get to avoid the best line. So they get to go up against like Strome, VC, Philip Edel, the Howden line. I mean, who knows? Maybe these lines could perform well defensively for the Rangers. Maybe they just need to mix stuff up, but I'm not really thinking that's the case. So I want to attack that depth, and then I do actually like the Florida top line as well. Yandel, Ekblad, Matheson. There's always a conundrum with them. Yandel's price has come up a little bit as he started to play a little bit better. He's the guy I like, especially if you're stacking the second line, but also don't mind stacking him with the top line because Yandel and Ekblad are skating a ton with Barkov, Huberdeau, and Hoffman at even strength when the Panthers are at home. On the Rangers side, I don't really have much for the defensemen because I'm not really looking to target them all that much. They're skaters, so I don't really look to correlate. Like Pionk never comes up as a crazy good value at 5K for me. Just doesn't shoot it as much as I would like. There are some other guys that I prefer, even looking to the other side, like Ekblad and Yandel in that same range. So probably can move on from this one. I don't think there's a ton of I'm interested in on the Rangers side. It's mostly about Florida here for me. Capitals and the Columbus Blue Jackets. 6.5 total here. We have 3.1 going to the Caps, 3.4 to the Blue Jackets. Braden Holtby and Sergei Bobrovsky in net here. This is another one where it's all about the home team for me. I'm all over the Blue Jackets. I absolutely love this top line. Dubois, Panarin, and Atkinson. And then just at a different price point, but similar in value for me, the Jenner, Foligno, Josh Anderson line. Jenner and Anderson are the two guys I really, really like, but Foligno also gets quote-unquote top power play time, even though the power plays are pretty split up. So I'm jamming in these Columbus top 6. They're probably going to have pretty split ownership just because of the pricing disparity, but really do like this spot against the Washington top 6, which is going to play pretty high event. And on the road, the Columbus top line, especially, and the second line, will see some pretty favorable matchups, whether or not they go up against Backstrom, Ovechkin, Burakovsky, a line that gave up a ton in their own end in their first game, or Kuznetsov, Verana, Connolly. I don't think that's going to be a very good defensive line either. So, Blue Jackets top 6, priority play for me. Seth Jones also falls into that category at 6K. Werenski is fine if you need the salary relief. And then the only play I've got for the Washington side is, of course, the top line. Backstrom, Ovechkin, and Burakovsky together are somewhat affordable if they do match up at even strength with either of these top 2 lines for Columbus. I think there's a shot that they could get there. I don't know if I even got any Washington 1, but kind of got to make the cut somewhere. And looking at these other lines that are priced around them, I think I just prefer a few more. So if I get beat by the Caps, I'm comfortable with that. I just will likely be on some other plays in that range. And only having 20 lineups tonight is the reason why. Let's see. Who's by them? Ovechkin. Oh. Yeah, all right. So there's 17K to stack. Like, I like the Boston 1 line, which is also 17K. I like Ottawa 1, the Kachuk Stone line, 16.8. And then I like the Tavares line as well. That's 17.4. So just probably not going to get to Washington 1. Nothing really against them, though. I don't think they're a bad play at all, especially if you're MMEing on FanDuel or you're firing more bullets into a different tournament. All right, next game. San Jose, Arizona, San Jose on the road back-to-back. After losing to Dallas last night, I believe they lost. I think I have that right. Should be Aaron Dell going up against Aiden Hill. Martin Jones started last night. Did his Martin Jones thing. Dell is at $7,400. That is a pretty solid price even for a team on the road back-to-back. I like this Schmaltz, Galchenyuk, Keller line a little bit. And then I don't really love this line, Stepan, Fisher, Panik. But they just make it so cheap on DK where like they come up every once in a while for me. I don't know if I'm going to include them. If I do, it's probably just going to be in stacks with super expensive lines. So if I'm going to Pittsburgh 1 or Colorado 1, I think that would be, I wouldn't end up on the step-on line just because I want to play the step-on line. I think it's a great matchup or anything. It's mostly just because of a price play and because when I crunch, like I might be able to get a Seth Jones with Colorado 1 and they just allow it to fit. So my preferred play on the Arizona side would be Schmaltz, Galchenyuk, Keller. And then on the Sharks, it's clearly the Couture, Hertl, Pavelski line. But the problem is, same thing with Washington. I don't know if I'll end up there just because of their pricing. I would like to, but they're 18-8 on DK and on the road back-to-back. It is a good matchup as far as high danger chances against Arizona. But I think that if I do go with a line with some regularity, it might be this third San Jose line. Sumela, Evander Kane, and Jonas Donskoy. First of all, Evander Kane is 5K. So if you're playing cash, do what you want with that. He would be a guy I would really like to include if I'm just playing one lineup tonight. He's 5K. He just shoots a ton. And this line does have pretty solid offensive numbers. So Kane, Sumela, Donskoy, like their pricing is ridiculous. 11K for those three. That's another line similar to the Stepan Panik Fisher line where I can see myself ending up there if I'm trying to jam in Colorado 1 or Pittsburgh 1 again. Defenseman here, we've got Erik Karlsson going up going back-to-back after a really, really good night I think he had 10 DK points. I didn't have enough of him. I forced in a ton of Brent Burns, or at least I guess my projections really liked Brent Burns. Carlson got there. There's going to be nights like that where you guess wrong. I still do prefer Brent Burns for 6,700, but Carlson had 8 shots on goal last night. I didn't see how many attempts he had, but I'm sure he was firing away, so love to see that. Hope his price comes up a little bit in the coming days, because he doesn't deserve to be priced at 5,600. He deserves to be over 6K and closer to Brent Burns, and just glad to see him playing a little bit better, because there was some talk that he's overrated. I mean, get out of here with that. Carlson's a stud, so he's not the reason the Sharks have underwhelmed so far, so let's get that out of the way. Chikrin at 4K jumps out to me as one of the better defenseman values of the night. This is a guy that does shoot it quite a bit, plays a good amount of minutes, and 4K top power play with guys like Keller and Galchenyuk. So I want some of that in a one-off scenario, even if I'm not getting to Arizona's top line, or the second line for that matter. All right, next game. Last game of the night, actually. Predators and the Flames. We have UC Saros going up against Mike Smith, coming off a shutout against the Wild. Who's minimum salary on FanDuel? Chikrin? Come on. It's not surprising, honestly. That's FanDuel for you, right? All right. So Saros against Smith. Smith coming off a really nice game against the Wild. And the Flames are completely depleted. Michael Backlund's gone. That's a huge loss for them. So Nashville 1's going to get upgraded for me. Johansson, Fiala, Hartman. Backlund is out with a concussion, I believe, so it's out the next couple games likely. And then Giordano suspended. So those are two really, really big losses. Hannafin probably slots up under the top power play. Could be Brody. I wouldn't read too much into what Daily Faceoff has. I didn't see anything about what the beat writers posted yesterday, if the Flames even practiced yesterday, or this morning at Morning Skate. I really do like Nashville 1 as some value. Hartman, Johansson, and Fiala. And then you can get them in with a Yossi or Ellis, which I really, really like. Smith, yeah, he may be starting a hot streak. I don't know. But I think that it's just as likely he could go back to being terrible. And I really want Yossi and Ellis in a good majority of my lineups tonight. Yossi is up there with Shabbat. He's going to be up there as one of my highest owned defensemen, if not my highest owned. And Nashville 1's just so cheap. Who knows how Calgary is going to try to match, or even if they're going to try to match without Backlund. But that Backlund injury is really big for them, because he just goes in every time at home and basically shuts down the opposing top line. And now they don't have that luxury. I don't know, maybe the Johansson line sees some more time against Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm, which is much worse defensively, scarier offensively, but not anywhere close to them defensively. And then no Giordano certainly hurts. Hannafin almost a lock. Now, I wouldn't say he's a lock, but certainly some good value. So I got to get off of here in just a few minutes. So let's finish up. Calgary 1, I think a perfectly fine play, decent value for them. And Nashville 1, Yossi, Ellis, Calgary 1, and then take your pick of these cheap Calgary defensemen, Hannafin and Brody, with a lean to Hannafin for me. He's not a lock, but he's very good value. I did some crunches before the show just to kind of show you what things look like. Favorite punts? Let's see. So here, well, first of all, here's some of these lineups that you got. So this is what you can fit with Pittsburgh 1. Let's see. You can fit that Nashville second line. You can fit Tavares, Hyman, Marner with Pitt 1. Yeah, it's not even that difficult. There are some decent punts tonight. Zaitsev, if you want to go there. I know in real life people are really frustrated with him. Leafs Twitter is not happy, but he is 2,600 and skates 20-plus minutes. If you count Chychrun as a punt, I think he's one of my favorite punts. If you count Hannafin as a punt, he's one of my favorites. Yes, we're only getting 3% McKinnon. That's kind of ridiculous, I think. Man. Yeah, I would want some more Chychrun for sure. But yeah. Man, Colorado won. I hope this is what people get on their crunches for Colorado 1, because I'll be well over the field on that. Some other lines that didn't really pop up. Boston 1, going to be over on that. Same with Detroit. Probably going to be under this. Not probably. I'm pretty certainly going to be under this. I like that for Columbus 1. And then Tampa should be up there. It'd be interesting to see where the ownership stands here. But that's probably going to do it for the show today. Comment, like the video, and we will be back on Monday. I think there's a decent slate. It's going to be Nolan and I. So comment, like, and be eligible for that free giveaway. You can also go to shop@osmo.com to get new swag for you guys. That is also one of the things you can win on the giveaway, but more information about that in the coming days. Thanks for joining.